Stanley Wilson Palathingal. I belong to the Diocese of Siro-Malabar Diocese of Thrissur, Archdiocese of Thrissur. My parish is Nellikunna, which is close to the city. So I'm just proper Thrissur, like 5 kilometers from the city center. And I belong to the religious congregation called Society of Catholic Apostolate, which is generally known as Palatines. So though I am a Siro-Malabar parishioner, my congregation is a Latin, founded in Rome. So it's a Latin congregation, and I have been a priest for the last 7 years. I came to UK 4 years back, or let's say 3 years back, pre-COVID, 2019 September, as a student. So when I came, I lived in St. Dominic's in the city center, and I did my master's in the Newcastle University for 1 year. And then the whole COVID started, and meanwhile, 2 of my confreres came from India. And 2021, I completed my studies in 2021 March. I went back to India, and I got a scholarship to study. So I came back again on 2021 September, and now we have got a new parish in Cramlington, St. Paul's Cramlington. That is this parish. So I help out here during the weekends, but I live during the week at St. Mary's Cathedral, Newcastle. I was asked to study in States for my master's. I've been trying, and I didn't get a proper visa, and the complications that are associated with that one. And then I thought, okay, why not try for UK? I applied for various universities in UK, and wherever I applied, I was lucky to get all of them. But in Newcastle, I saw it's like a good university. And then when I came, of course, I got a support from Saji, who is working in this diocese. That's how I precisely chose to come to Newcastle than any other places. Though I have been invited, I got admission in other places. I chose just because to get an introduction with a priest. If there is someone, it is always good. That's how I came and landed in Newcastle. I did my master's in MSc Data Science, and now I'm doing my PhD in Computer Science. So we have got an engineering college back in India. So I am asked to do some studies and be a part of the institution. So I came precisely to do my studies related to that one. So before coming to here, I did my master's back in India. In Christ University, Bangalore for 3 years, and then I came and did 1 year, my second master's here in computer science, and now I completed my first year of PhD. I have 2.5 more years to go, and once I complete, probably I'll go back to India. Of course, I will go back. The call to priesthood, I must say, came on the day of my baptism. So I must say it's a story. So what happens is when I was taken up for the baptism, the name which my mother wants to give me was Stalin. So it was on late 80s, and that time she wanted to give the name of a famous person. Of course, Stalin was a ruler in Russia, and whenever people open the TV, they get the name, famous name, Stalin. Of course, I don't know how it has come up. So when she was taken up for the baptism, when I was taken for the baptism, the parish priest asked, "What name you want to give?" And she said, "Stalin." So he was not happy with that name, and he just changed my name from Stalin to Stanley. And when I was baptized, it seems that I was quite calm. I was quite, I was going through that whole process very good, and he was quite happy. And he said that when he grows up, he will become a priest. Then onwards, everyone from my young age onwards, people used to start asking to me, "Stanley, when are you going to become a priest?" So let me finish my studies. And ever since, the whole parish, the whole all my relatives and my friends, everyone knows somewhere or the other that I am going to become a priest, because someone said, and it has to go on. So it was a good training for me from the younger days onwards to to form myself in some manner. And then my parishioners, or I was a part of the altar boys service. The altar service almost from the age of from the fifth standard till 12th. That means from 10 to 17, I was a part of that one, and so I was always been the altar. That till the day I joined my seminary, I was there, and it's continued. So for me, altar was a part of my life. So much say from the time of my first Holy Communion, and I did not come down from the altar ever since. So I have been there serving, and then after joining seminary, I was always placed myself in the altar. Now my parish was a big parish in the diocese of Archdiocese of Thrissur, almost like 1,200 families, but we have less vocations. So I was the third priest in the parish. And due to that one, everyone knew that I was going to become a priest. And when we go for holidays, there is no big crowd, to go to get the altar, because in those parishes which have got more vocations, there's a big crowd in the altar as brothers. But for us, it was just come and go. So I just continued to be in the altar. And I always want to be missionary priest. So people just tell me, join like in the diocese. So that you can have your parents close by and things like that. So when I was deciding in a time of my vocation, maybe at the time when I must say the time when I did my first Holy Communion, that was the time my parish was given to the care of Pallottans, the congregation which I am in. So there were Pallottan priests 5 years in my parish. So when it came as an option, you want to be a missionary? Yes. You don't want to go to the diocese. So the only congregation that was in my mind was Pallottans, and so that's how I joined Pallottans. So when I did my 10th, which is the 11th equivalent here, I went for the vocation camp, and since I was quite good in my studies, I was asked to continue my studies. So I did my 12th, 10th, 11th and 12th, and then I joined seminary. I started my formation at the age of 17 and half probably. I went to Idukki. So I'm from Thrissur, as I said. Thrissur is like a city life moved into an area of agricultural life. When I went, I was not able to hold a spade. I had no idea what is a proper plant and what's a weed basically. So when we are sent for gardening and things like that, I was absolute disaster in those things. But I started to learn things, and first year I was in Idukki, second year I was in our novitiate, and which was in Aluva, and then I was always out of Kerala. One thing I must say in my life, that for me, I always experienced the providence of God from the very beginning. So we had, though I finished my 12th and joined, there was supposed to have 2 years of initial formation, and then the third year we joined the novitiate. But in my case, I could complete the whole thing in 1 year. So I saved 1 year of my life there, and then I could move ahead and then continue my studies. One of the favorite memories that I had in my life was I had a very tough time in the first year of my formation itself, because the time I went ahead, my grandfather and my grandmother, both of them died in a gap of 3 months. It was quite tough for me to accept, the thing, how it was going on. I thought, okay, I'll go back. When I call my home, I always come to know that there is a lot of trouble that was going on. And then I thought, okay, I'll go for my Christmas holidays and I will have to decide. But when I went for Christmas holidays, I always, I had no money even to travel back from my home to the formation house. But I could see a kind of a miraculous that someone whom I do not know just came forward and helped me to go ahead. So there are memories of that sort. I must say that must have been one of those things, one experience which I may cherish, because if that support would not have come in, I may not have been a priest by now. So support, loving memories, yeah, throughout. But this something is very special to me, and as I said, I was ordained in 2015, so 7 years now. First year I worked in a small village in Madhya Pradesh. It's a very, very poor village. And then ever since I have been doing my studies. So for me, I like to be in a community, and one of the things which I found always difficult was to live alone, I must say. When I did my study in Bangalore, I was a part of a small community, so still I was a small community concept. But when I came to UK to study, I was all alone. When I came almost 1 month, I was staying in a rented house before moving into the St. Dominic's. I used to celebrate Mass alone. To live in St. Dominic's all alone, initially it was quite challenging because I was never been a person who lived alone somewhere. In our congregation, we always live in communities and not alone. Living in St. Dominic's was always a toughest part, but there again, one of the sweetest memories in my life, that it strengthened my vocation in two ways. First is I always received the providence of God. I came here with no relatives, no friends and things like that, but I always received the providence of God here, because there were so many friends I received here. There were so many people who took care of as their children, as their son. There was especially someone who was providing food for me. I was not cooking here, but someone really took care of me as a mother. There were so many of them that way, and it is something like a gospel passage that I always think. You left your family, you left your father, your mother, your brother and your relatives, but you will get in 100-fold. That particular thing as a missionary I experienced after coming here. So many of them really took care of me, and that way, one way, strengthened my vocation. My life as a priest is something that I always wanted to. As I said, it has just come to me. To my life that you will become a priest, and it just goes on. And I'm so happy that I'm a priest, and I would like to continue my life as a priest. There is no doubt, whatever be the situations, even if I go back to India, to the institution, I always lift up those things that I have inculcated in my life. I always believe that the providence of God in my life, and definitely it will continue. And I would like to remain always as a priest, as a priest who do the will of God. One of the toughest time I must say in my life was when I was sent for studies. I always had a desire to go for the missions, and that was one of my life desires to become a priest, is to work in the mission. But the moment when I was told yes for my studies, I knew that I'm not going to get a chance to work in the missions. I will have to continue my studies again and again, and I will have to to work in this particular institution for the rest of my life. But when I had a conflict of that sort, one of my priest colleagues said, when you have a conflict in your life to decide between your interest and the interest of the religious congregation, always go with that of the religious congregation. And so I must say, the obedience that I have taken, I just said yes. It had studying so many years has never been an easy thing, but when I look at it, yes, it is this obedience and saying yes to the will of my congregation that supports me, and I will always believe that I will continue in my life to be a good Palatine priest, living the charism of my congregation, because that's what all I want to do in my life.